Hi there. Thank you for choosing to be here tonight. Welcome to another gentle moment with Sleepy Zen. I know that sometimes we just need a soft place where the mind can breathe again. And right now, you can let this space become your own safe corner. A place where you don't have to try, don't have to be strong, and don't have to hold yourself in any particular state. You can let go just a little. Slow down one beat and let your body understand that you are safe and wrapped in calm. Here you are listened to. Here you are trusted. And here you are allowed to rest. Before we begin tonight's story, let me ask gently, where is your heart at right now? A little tired? Feeling okay? Or needing a bit more soothing? If you want, you can share it so I can understand you better. When the night becomes truly quiet, a soft breeze brushes past the branches outside your window, making them move in ways so small you only notice if you really pause. The branch trembles, then slowly returns to where it was, as if it's teaching you something simple. There is a time to hold on, and a time to just let the wind pass through. You breathe in slowly, then breathe out gently, and notice that with each breath your mind is also learning to put down a small part of the long day. No rush, no forcing, just softly touching the calm that is arriving. Old Maren sat in front of her small fire, the flickering light softening the kind lines on her face. In the old wooden house, the quiet crackle of burning logs was the warmest sound of the night. She wrapped her wool shawl around her shoulders, the same one that had stayed with her through many winters, soft and comforting like the hands of a dear friend she no longer got to see. On the table sat a cup of hot tea. She cupped it with both hands, a gesture that had become instinct. The warmth moved into her palms and slowly settled in her chest, making her exhale a little easier. Some things are meant to be kept, she thought, like this warmth, like the sweet memory of evenings when someone sat beside her, like old laughter that no longer echoes, yet still feels soft in the heart. Keeping what warms you has never been a burden. Near the window, on a small shelf, was a wooden box. Inside were tiny stones she had collected on hard days, each stone a symbol of a weight she wasn't ready to let go of. When something sad happened, she didn't want to talk or explain. She would simply pick up a stone, place it in the box, and close the lid, as if giving shape to the heaviness made it rest more quietly. Tonight, with the fire burning gently, she opened the box. Inside were stones in every shape, some small like a child's marble, some large like the size of her palm, some smooth, some rough, like the very days she had lived through. Maren looked at them the way someone looks back at pieces of their own life, not rushing, not turning away, just seeing. She set her tea down and lifted one stone carefully. It was cold, so cold that her hand, used to the warmth of the cup, trembled a little. She turned the stone slowly, letting the firelight play on its hard surface. Some things don't need to be carried anymore, she thought. She placed the stone on the floor, not to throw it away, not to reject it, just to set it down, the way a shoulder finally softens after years of holding too much. Then she pulled her wool shawl closer to her neck and took another sip of tea, letting its heat hold the parts of her she still wanted to keep. Keep what makes you gentle. Set down what makes you heavy. In the quiet glow of that evening fire, Old Maren knew this was the first step. Old Maren held her cup of tea a little longer, letting the warmth soak into each chilled knuckle. The fire shifted in small, gentle waves, almost as if it were breathing with her. She looked at the flames, then at the stone resting on the floor. One warm, one heavy, both present in the same room, yet creating two completely different feelings. The warmth slowed her down. The stone reminded her that some things truly don't need to be carried forever. She opened the wooden box again and picked up another stone. This one was smaller but sharper, its edges pressed into her palm, bringing a faint sting. And with that sting came memories she had tucked away for years. Nothing dramatic, just the kinds of things that make the heart ache in quiet, personal ways. A promise someone didn't keep, an evening of loneliness that lasted longer than it should have, a moment she blamed herself far too harshly for, something that wasn't worth the blame. She turned the little stone in her hand. The firelight glinted off its uneven surface, making it look like a piece of memory that had never been smoothed out. She placed it beside the first stone. When it touched the floor with a soft tap, something inside her chest loosened as well, like a small string in her heart finally releasing. She pulled her wool shawl closer. The shawl hadn't changed in weight, but it felt different now. It reminded her of the things worth keeping: warmth, gentleness, the quiet days she had been grateful for, the small kindnesses she had given and received. The shawl carried no heavy memories, only the ones that kept her heart soft. She added another log to the fire. The flame brightened and the room seemed to grow wider in the glow. The warmth expanded with each soft crackle of the wood, and she realized something simple. What warms the heart is meant to be kept. What weighs it down doesn't need to be held so tightly. She reached into the box again, but paused. Not out of fear, but because she wanted to feel the shift happening inside her. The room was quiet. The fire was kind. The tea was still warm. 2 stones already lay on the floor. She didn't need to set everything down in one night. Letting go also needed slowness, needed gentleness, needed the right moment. Old Maren smiled softly, the smile of someone beginning to understand that keeping and letting go are not opposites. They are simply 2 movements of the same heart, learning to care for itself. She lifted her cup, breathing in its calming scent. And in that warm breath, she knew she had already placed down a little more and kept exactly what she needed to walk forward. Old Maren sat quietly, her hands wrapped around her teacup, the fire in the stove burning more steadily, making soft popping sounds like tiny bubbles disappearing into the air. The tea was no longer hot, but still warm enough to keep her heart gentle. She looked at the two stones on the floor and felt as if they had grown smaller, not in size, but in the way their invisible weight had lifted from her mind. She opened the wooden box a third time. The stone she picked up wasn't sharp or heavy, but it held a deep kind of cold. It brought back an old day, a sadness she had never spoken aloud. She didn't turn the stone right away. She simply held it, letting the warmth of her palms slowly sink in. For so many years, she believed that anything that once hurt her had to be held tight, as if letting go meant betraying the memory. But now, with the cold stone warming in her hand, she understood that letting go isn't forgetting. Letting go is accepting that not everything needs to be carried forward. She placed the stone beside the other two. 3 small sounds met the air so soft, yet she heard them like 3 breaths finally being released. Her back straightened a little, her neck loosened, her shoulders dropped lighter, as if she had just set down something she had been overholding for too long. Maren slipped her wool shawl off her shoulders and draped it back on again, slowly, like offering herself a gentle embrace. The shawl was soft, and she softened with it. She realized there were things she chose to keep every day, and the shawl was one of them, something warm, familiar, soothing. Not everything that comes into our life is meant to stay, and not everything that once felt heavy still needs to be carried. She looked at the fire. The fire held on to nothing. It kept only what it needed to burn and released the rest as ash. Nature always knows how to keep what gives warmth and let go of what has reached its end. Humans are more complicated, but the heart seems to follow the same principle. What makes us brighter we keep, what makes us heavier we set down. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, warm air from the fire filling her lungs, opening her chest in a quiet, effortless way. She could feel herself more clearly, her body no longer bracing, her mind no longer gripping. When she opened her eyes, she saw that the wooden box still held a few stones. That was all right. She didn't need to let go of everything. In one night, she only needed to release what she could and keep what helped her shine. Old Maren lifted her cup, touching her lips to the last bit of lingering warmth. And in that small moment, she understood more deeply than ever. A person grows wider inside when they keep what warms them and gently set down what makes them heavy. Some early mornings, a thin layer of mist settles over everything, softening the world into a gentle blur. The mountains in the distance do not disappear. They simply grow quieter. The rows of trees do not fade. They just sink into a softness that gives the eyes a little rest. And when a breeze slips through the doorway, you hear a sound that is hard to name. Not the wind itself, but the way the space shifts as it passes through. In that dim, tender stillness, holding on and letting go are not opposites. They are two breaths of the same quiet mind. In daily life, we often think that letting go means rejecting something, cutting it off, or forcing it out. But in awareness, letting go is simply opening a hand that has been gripping too tightly. When the hand opens, what needs to leave will leave, and what needs to stay will stay. The opening itself does not push anything away and does not demand anything to stay. It only makes space for things to return to their true place. Holding on is the same. Holding on does not mean clinging out of fear of losing. Holding on is letting your heart rest on what is good, bright, and nourishing. Like the soft morning light filtering through the mist, it does not force itself through it, just settles quietly. And it is exactly that gentle presence that makes you want to keep it. Hold on to what makes you kinder and wider. Let go of what makes your heart cramped and dim. Sometimes we let go too forcefully and lose something we should have kept. Sometimes we hold on too tightly and cling to things that we're already trying to leave. When the mind is awake, things become clearer. Some things should be kept with openness, not strain. And some things should be released with softness, not resistance. Imagine an open hand under a thin layer of morning mist, not squeezing, not pushing, not pulling. When the hand is open, the breeze passes through without hurting it, and if a small ray of sunlight falls into the palm, it rests there naturally without needing to be clutched. This is the state called holding and letting go at the same time, holding through awareness, letting go through gentleness, allowing everything to settle in its rightful place inside the heart. In the soft haze of calm mornings, we learn that light does not need to be bright to be real light. And holding or letting go does not need dramatic decisions, only a mind willing to slow down enough to see what nourishes us and what quietly makes us heavy. When a breeze slips through the door, we cannot hold the wind, but we can feel it. When the mist dissolves into morning light, we cannot keep its soft, dreamy shape, but we can remember the gentle feeling it left behind. Most of our emotional knots do not come from holding or letting go themselves, but from holding tightly what should be released and releasing what should be held. When the mind is awake, everything becomes clearer, not through logic, but through sensing. Like looking through mist, you may not see each leaf or each branch, but you can sense the whole forest standing still. Awareness lets us see what lifts us and what weighs us down. In that spacious understanding, holding on is not clinging, letting go is not losing. Holding on is gently giving attention to what brings peace. Letting go is returning to the world what no longer matches the rhythm of our breath. Holding on is nourishment. Letting go is clearing space. A peaceful mind carries both. Imagine an open hand. When it is open, you can feel the wind and you can receive a ray of sunlight. Opening does not make you weak. It simply melts the tension. In that openness, you keep the warmth and release the cold. Holding and letting go become small, effortless movements when the heart is soft enough. Like wind passing the door, coming and going without disturbance. Like mist fading slowly, neither resisting the light nor rushing to disappear. When the heart moves this way, we no longer fear letting go, because letting go does not make us lose. And we no longer fear holding on, because holding on does not make us heavy. We simply live with an open hand, keeping what is meant to stay, releasing what is ready to leave. Brother Milo stepped into the small garden behind his hut just as night settled over everything like a thin silk blanket. The darkness was not heavy. A faint glow from the lantern hanging by the porch cast a soft yellow halo around him. Crickets sang from the grass, steady and old, like a lullaby the night never forgot. In his hand was a fallen leaf. He had picked it up the moment he walked down the narrow path. The leaf was so light he could barely feel it, yet he held it as if it were teaching him something about himself. All day he had been trying to control everything. A difficult conversation, an unfinished task, a visitor seeking advice, when he was already tired. He tried to keep everything in order, aligned with how he thought it should be. And the more he tried, the tighter his mind pulled itself, like a rope stretched too far. He stopped under an old plum tree. The lantern behind him swayed with the breeze scattering, shifting patches of light and shadow across the ground. Milo lifted the leaf to eye level. He noticed he was gripping it a bit too firmly, not because he needed to, but because the habit of holding on had not loosened yet. He relaxed his hand slightly. The night breeze slid through, making the leaf tremble. Then he let his hand open. The leaf drifted down slowly, as if it understood he was not rushing. When it touched the ground, Milo heard the crickets pause before singing again. A leaf had been set down, and something in him settled too. He placed both hands on his belly and inhaled deeply. He held the breath, not with force, but the way someone might guard a tiny flame from going out. Then he exhaled so softly it barely made a sound. That breath showed him a clear truth. Holding a breath brings presence. Holding a thought brings exhaustion. Milo took a few more steps across the damp earth. Each step made the faintest sound, like dew whispering under his feet. The lantern in the distance swung, once its light drawing soft curves on the ground. In that shifting glow, Milo realized something. Control is not always the same as holding on. Often it is just gripping too tightly, stiffening the very place that needs to stay soft. He lowered himself onto a stone slab, listening to crickets, wind, and the quiet movement of the night through the garden. His hands held no leaf, only a breath that was slowly finding its natural rhythm. And in the quiet garden, Milo understood letting go is not abandoning everything. Letting go is releasing the leaf, so your hands are free to hold your breath. His shoulders dropped, as if they were finally allowed to stop holding him in posture. The lantern swayed, scattering thin yellow light into soft patches on the ground. The crickets kept singing, steady and patient. Not fast, not slow. Just the right rhythm for Milo to feel he was no longer out of step with the evening. He placed a hand on his chest and listened to his breath. It was not perfect, not deep like formal practice, but it was real. He had spent too long using his breath as a tool of control, instead of letting it be the rhythm that brings him home. He thought of the leaf he just released. So small, so light, and yet opening his hand felt like setting down an entire day. The leaf was never heavy, the hand holding it was. Most exhaustion comes not from the world, but from the tightening inside. A breeze moved through the garden. Milo heard his robe shift in the wind, a sound he had not noticed in so long he could not remember. He rubbed his thumb against his fingertip, a tiny gesture to remind himself that presence begins in the smallest sensation. He bent down and picked up another leaf, not to drop it, but to feel what it was like to hold without gripping. The leaf rested on his open palm. Then a gentle gust sent it sliding off. It drifted with the breeze toward wherever it belonged. Not everything we touch needs to be kept, and not everything we let go is lost. The lantern's glow brushed across his face, revealing traces of fatigue. But beneath that light, his features softened too, as if the tension of the day dissolved with the fallen leaves. Milo took another breath. Breath in his chest opened. Breath out, the door closed gently. Some things are meant to be kept: presence, breath, gentleness. Some are meant to be released: control, rigidity, the demand to be right. He lifted his gaze to the garden, letting lantern light blend with crickets and his own breathing. he was returning to himself. Milo rose, brushing dust from his robe, and walked deeper into the garden. Leaves crunched softly underfoot like the night whispering to follow its rhythm. The lantern swayed, not bright enough for the whole garden, but enough to see the ground. Presence is the same. It does not need to light the future, only this moment. He stopped by wild flowers' dew clinging to their leaves. He touched one drop. It trembled, then slipped like a tiny pearl. Some things need only a light touch before they roll away on their own. No gripping, no pulling. Letting go can be that natural, that soft. The night wind lifted his robe. Milo placed a hand on his chest, letting his breath move with the motion. He held the breath, but not the tension. He held presence, but let go of the rush. Space opened inside him like a door, eased just enough for warmth to slip through. He bent to pick another leaf, not to drop it, but to feel holding without owning. The leaf rested in peace, neither forced to stay nor pushed away. Sometimes holding is simply allowing. Milo walked back toward the lantern, lifted the leaf, and released it. This time he did not track where it went. He turned back to light and breath. The crickets kept singing, steady as a reminder, life goes on regardless. Milo rested his hand on his belly, took a deep breath and whispered, "Keep what brings me back. Let go of what pulls me away." The night wind moved through the garden, leaves rustling. Brother Milo simply stood there, breathing, growing lighter in the gentlest way. In nature, holding on and letting go are always happening at the same time, so gently that we only notice it when we stand still enough to see. Like a tree in the forest, it holds its trunk, its roots, its direction of growth. But when the season changes, it lets go of its leaves. No regret, no resistance, no effort to cling to the green that has already lived its time. The leaves fall one by one, some spinning, some dropping straight. The tree does not call them back, and it does not push them away. It simply remains, keeping what must be kept, its roots, its trunk, and letting what is no longer needed leave on its own. A stream does the same. The water keeps its flow, its direction as it moves past rocks and bends. But it does not hold on to the foam. The bubbles rise and vanish, white for a moment, gone the next. The stream does not try to keep the foam to make itself more, and it does not mourn when the foam disappears. It just keeps flowing, keeps its nature, and releases whatever was only meant to pass through. When we look at nature, we see that holding and letting go are not opposites. They are a balanced motion. Hold the roots to stay steady. Let go of what is ready to leave, so there is space to remain light. No tree tries to keep every leaf from every past season. No stream tries to hold every bubble. Nature knows that only by releasing what is extra can the essential continue to live. The human heart follows the same principle, only it is more complicated. Because we have memories, emotions, expectations, fears. We often hold on to what has already asked to leave, like a dry leaf, no longer belonging to the branch. And we let go of what should be kept, like the grounding of the trunk. We cling to bubbles, afraid they will vanish, yet forget to keep the flow inside us alive, the breath, the calm, the gentle things that nourish us. When the mind settles, we see clearly. Some things should be held, but held with openness, like the tree keeps its roots. And some things should be released, but released softly, like the stream lets go of foam. Not tearing, not rushing, just returning everything to where it naturally belongs. A falling leaf does not weaken the tree. A disappearing bubble does not empty the stream. A sadness leaving does not make a person lose themselves. Instead, that letting go makes room for a new season, for new water, for a new breath. In the quiet movement of nature, we learn that holding and letting go both have their place, and both lead to the same destination. Lightness, clarity, and the truth that the heart becomes still, not by gripping too much, and not by releasing too quickly. Noah arrived at the dock just as daylight slipped away, the river holding a pale glow like a soft brush of paint. The dock was quiet, only the mooring rope tapping lightly against the post with each small rise of water. The wind slid through his jacket, carrying the brackish smell of the river. He stood there, watching an old boat tied with a rope worn thin by years. He placed his hand on the rope, its rough fibers scraping his palm, reminding him of how he had held on to things that had long wanted to leave. The rope kept the boat in place, but it also kept the soft waves knocking against the hull, never letting the boat drift, though the water kept inviting it. Noah exhaled a sound so soft only someone standing very close to themselves could hear. He lifted the rope, then let it fall. It quivered, echoing faintly in his chest. He remembered everything he had held too long, a relationship long, expired, an old self that no longer matched who he was, expectations he could no longer carry. He held them the way he held this boat, not because he needed to, but because releasing felt like losing something important. Noah sat on the wooden planks, dipping his foot into the river. The water was cold, but gentle, no resistance, no demand. It simply flowed, carrying faint yellow reflections of the lamps. Was he the one causing his own ache by holding what was ready to go? Had the river always wanted to help the boat drift, but the rope kept it still in the current? A breeze passed, making the boat sway. Even tied down, it tried to answer the water's invitation. Noah felt the same tension inside himself between release and fear. He lowered his hand, letting the water touch his fingers. Cool and silky, slipping away instantly. It did not cling, it did not hold him, it did not abandon him. It simply moved in its rhythm. In that moment, Noah understood something thin but true. Not everything that wants to leave is a loss, and not everything we hold is something we need. He looked at the boat again. The wind swept the dock, pulling the rope tight, then letting it loosen. The last shimmer of sunset on the water, reminding him some things are meant to be released and allowed to drift. Noah stayed a long while, hands resting, letting his body settle into the cool evening. The boat rocked, pulled back each time by the old rope, small movements echoing his own heart, swaying with what he had not released. He leaned down, inspecting the frayed fibers, memory worn like rope. He had used his heart the same way, trying to hold what had changed, keeping it near even when it no longer nourished. The tighter he pulled, the more the rope wore out. The tighter he held, the more his hands hurt. He wrapped fingers lightly around the rope, not to lift, only to feel. Cold and dry, like the ache of keeping something only because of fear. Fear had no clear shape, yet lived in every thought, every night. A sudden slap of water hit the boat, circles widening and fading. The water did not hold its own ripples. It allowed them to disappear. People were different. People kept echoes long after endings. Across the river, lamps flickered gold, trembling on the surface like a memory, beautiful, but no longer meant to be held close. Noah slid his fingers to the knot tied long ago. He had grown used to seeing it there, used to not letting the boat drift. Tonight, looking at that knot, something shifted, not matching the truth in his chest. A stronger gust tipped the boat before it settled back. Rope tightening, then loosening, like a heart straining to hold what is already drifting. Noah gazed up, clouds passing overhead, neither clinging nor pulling, arriving and parting by the wind. He exhaled, a long breath, softening his belly entirely. Maybe it was time to look honestly at what he had been gripping too tightly. Not to let go now, only to admit that holding has limits, and when holding becomes exhaustion, it is time to pause. Noah stood slowly, his hands still on the rope, quietly wondering what was really holding him here, the boat or the fear. Below him, the water shimmered thin lines of light, reflecting lamps from the pier. The river kept flowing constant, gentle, like a reminder that everything has its own current. He pulled the rope a little and felt tension through every twisted strand. It was not only holding the boat, it was holding him in the familiar place of never daring to let anything leave. For so long, he believed holding on proved something mattered. But the more he held, the heavier his heart became. And the heavier it felt, the tighter he gripped. He sat again slower, letting his feet touch the water. Cool, soft, not trying to keep him. Slipping past his skin, whispering that not everything touched is meant to stay. There were things he needed to release, not because he did not care, but because holding them was wearing him out. He thought of what he let go too quickly, a friend lost in rush, an old passion pushed aside, quiet, peace ignored. The things worth keeping he let go. The things to release he kept. That upside-down living held him still. The night breeze brushed his face, cool like a hand on his shoulder. No rush needed. He looked at the boat still swaying, not fighting the current, only held by the rope. If the rope loosened, the boat would move as meant to. No struggle, no forcing. He bent to the knot. Not as tight as he imagined, only never touched with gentleness. 2 fingers turned it slowly. The rope loosened the boat, arcing wider. His heart swayed, not with fear, but with relief. He did not untie, only loosened enough to know he could let go without losing everything. Holding need not grip. Letting go need not cut. The wind rose, softening everything. Noah exhaled the deepest breath in days. He had set down the first part. He felt wide space opening inside. The boat still there, still tied, yet freer in movement. He rested, his hand not tightening, not testing. Letting go sometimes just means giving what wants to leave a bit of room. He sat again, feet in the water, small waves tapping. No questions, no fixing. Just watching He had held regrets, old words, old selves, old fears. Holding made him tired. Letting go too fast made him empty. Tonight, he chose holding gently, releasing slowly. The cool river scent gathered around him. The boat remained without strain. Softness felt safe. When time comes, the boat will drift. But for now, this in-between was enough. He stood brushing dust from his hands. Fingers touched the rope once, not to test, only farewell. Walking toward the warm dock lights. Each step lighter, not bright, just warm. At the far end, he turned back. The boat rocking calmly, the rope no longer fear, but learning transition between grip and release. Noah breathed and understood the night clearly. Let go of what wants to leave, keep what brings peace. He stepped into the quiet, carrying warmth reclaimed, not by holding tighter, but by opening. When you hold your hand out under the moonlight, you notice the light resting on your palm yet never belonging to you. It is there because the hand is open. It leaves when the hand closes. You cannot keep it. You cannot grab it. You cannot hold the moon without losing the beauty of it. When we grip too tightly, even what is beautiful becomes distorted. Trying to hold the moon only makes our fingers cast shadows over it. What is precious does not disappear because it leaves our hand. It disappears when we try to keep it unnaturally. Clinging never makes us safer. It only tires the hands and tightens the heart. But when we open the hand, not dropping, not rejecting, only opening, the light rests again, soft, round, untouched by wanting. Opening does not make the light drift. It allows the light to exist as it is. Holding with openness is different from holding with force. One kind of holding exhausts us, the other brings ease. And letting go is the same. Not pushing the light away, not denying what once meant something. Letting go is giving things their natural path. Allowing what has reached its time to drift quietly. The open hand remains wide enough to welcome what is new, kind, and light. Imagine standing beneath the night sky with your hand open. The moonlight lands, then slips away as the breeze shifts. You lose nothing. You are simply part of the flow. The hand can only receive when it is not gripping. Life works the same. When we clutch worry, it becomes shadow. When we grip sadness, it becomes weight. When we cling to what is ready to leave, we become the one stuck. But when we open the hand gently, worry thins like mist, sadness softens like water slipping from a leaf. And what is meant to stay peace, breath, stillness, gentleness, rests like moonlight on water, not because we hold it, but because we are open. An open hand is the hand that knows how to hold. And letting go is simply opening enough for something light to enter. Let your breath cool and clear, like mountain air drifting down a high path. Soften your forehead, your eyes, your jaw. Let your shoulders drop like snow settling on quiet ground. Arms, wrists, fingers, loosening, chest, belly, opening like cold air, making space inside your lung. Hips, thighs, knees, feet, all falling into deep stillness. Now imagine a soft white glow sliding down the mountainside. Calm, slow, steady. It reaches you, touches your shoulders, your breath, and tells you you can rest now. Let that cool glow quiet the day inside you until your chest feels wide and your mind feels open like a high valley. Let your awareness rise as if carried upward by thin mountain air, past the cliffs, past the quiet peaks, into the wide night sky. Stars like tiny sparks hanging in cool darkness. Everything widening. Everything fading into gentle height. Thank you for closing your day in this calm space. Let sleep come like night falling over the mountains. soft, slow, certain. And if you want to return to this high quiet again, you can follow the Sleepy Zen channel so we can meet in this wide stillness each night. Sleep well. Sleep well.